Howdy of you delicious people, I'm here today to review A Man Called Otto. So, we of course have a man called Tom Hanks who is to seemingly play the Gran Torino Clint Eastwood character. If he was to have gone on and stated, like, get off my lawn, I would have just been like, okay, we are complete. The only difference between, of course, Clint Eastwood's Gran Torino and the Otto character is throughout this movie we have Otto who is consistently attempting at ending his life. But whenever he's to go on and have these attempts, we all of a sudden have some neighbor that is bugging the crap out of him. So he is to go on and not be able to accomplish the one thing that he was trying to do because, of course, of his neighbors just bugging the crap out of him in this gated community. We go on to have Otto throughout this movie correcting when people are to say the wrong name of things. He goes on to haggle over certain prices of certain items, and he is to also go on and tell somebody, it's like, well, hey, like, you know what, you've gone on and done all of this stuff in your life. I'm assuming that this one thing, like, shouldn't be that hard. You've done so many things with your life. The one thing that you should kind of fly right through should probably be this. So, with that said, the one thing that really was to have me baffled of this film is that it was 2 hours. I was like, why is this movie 2 hours? I, in all honesty, didn't like this film. I would state that it is a bad film. We have Otto that it not only focuses on its current situation, but is to also do quite a bit of flashbacking in this film to help us with realizing that Otto at some point had fallen in love with a woman named Sonia, that Otto had gone on to move into this community and had certain friends at some points, even though they were with odds with one another, because Otto would come on to find that his neighbor would be like, ugh, like, seriously, I don't like his car, I don't like his this, I don't like his that. So, there's little goofy details. So, we have to realize by the end of this that at some point we're all going to become a grumpy old person. But with this story, we of course have Otto, who ends up giving us something different than what we would kind of expect from a Tom Hanks film. So, with that said, I'm going to go on and just go into spoilers and double five this bad boy up. Right now, currently, this movie is available on Yes Movies, which of course is a bootleggish like app that you can go on and see like a goofy theater cut of this film. Normally I would recommend an app called Vidlesy, Videsy, but this movie is not available on that app right now. Maybe at some point it will be soon, and so anybody can go on and watch it. So, with that said, I'm going to go on into spoiler time. Spoiler time, it's about that time again to spoil this movie. Normally I would go on and I would do a review, and I would have very little single bit and detail and whatever. This time around, I'm just kind of winging it. Like, whatever I can remember is whatever I can remember. So that's what we're doing for this one. Because really, I was like, I don't really want to do notes for this one. I don't want to go in detail. I don't want to say every single bit of dialogue. No, I'm just flying here. So with that said, let's go on into A Man Called Otto. So in the very beginning of this film, we find Otto making his way to the Busy Beaver retail store. And I'm like, oh no. I see where this is going. So even kind of beginning this film, I was like, oh no. So we have Otto, who's a difficult person. He goes into this store, and we have a announcement going on, and someone is asked, like, well, hey, are you a busy beaver? And Otto's like, no, I'm not. And this is going on in the announcing part of the store. So he's bizarrely answering a, a radio thing. So Otto makes his way to the section of the store that has rope, and he is pulling 5 feet of rope out. We all of a sudden have this hardware store clerk that is wanting to help out Otto. It's like, well, hey man, like I can go on and like cut that for you. And Otto looks at him and is like, no, I have a knife. Like I know what 5 feet is. I think I'm good. And but the guy's like, but I wanna help. And Otto's like, no, I got it. Like, do you think I'm gonna go and accidentally cut myself and try to sue you over this? No, I'm fine. I got the 5 feet. It's great. So the clerk walks off, and so I end up seeing the same clerk who is not only on the floor but is also ringing people up, because I'm assuming that this is a very small store, and at certain points you have kind of one person doing everything at certain stores if they're not that busy, or like considering the whole online store boom of things, which normally if I was to probably shop, I would probably shop online too. Uh, yeah, like retailers are just getting freaking killed because of that. But anyways, we have this store clerk that is to go on and ring up Otto's rope, and he ends up ringing it up as 6 feet. And Otto's like, well, wait a minute, like I have 5 feet here. What's going on? What are you doing? And so the guy ends up stating, it's like, well, like the lowest we can go on this register, the only button we can push is 6 feet. So the guy's like, well, like, well, that's not what I have here. So we have Otto, who is to ask for a manager, and the manager ends up being like the same age as the clerk that is in front of him. And so Otto's like, no, I want the real manager. Because, yeah, when you think about it, there's quite a bit of times when a lot of leads or managers in a retail store will eventually be like hired very young, and a lot of times they probably won't have much experience under their belt, or surprisingly they'll actually probably have a lot of experience, and like still like this is probably just a new job to them, and they're just not aware of what the parameters of this new job is. Because I've had a lot of times where a lot of people would just get hired as leads off the street, and I'm like, hey, what did you do before you got here? And they're like, oh yeah, I worked at like a KFC. And I was like, oh, so you've never worked retail before? And they'd be like, yeah. And I was like, all right, well, let's do this then. Because a lot of times that would probably be whatever job that I was applying for, and I didn't get it. I'm like, yeah, I've been here for 3 to 7 years, and but that's always the thing. Like a lot of times, like stores are just kind of looking for like, well, yeah, we want to hire like a person that like the personality just wins us over, or like there's some kind of weird goofy X Factor thing, or really just having this person having no experience in retail could also have that person not be asking for a lot of money when they go into this job. So I guess that's really the thing. But anyways, so going back into the story, so Otto, we have him by the end of this, like, he is to not really, like, get what he wants out of this. Instead, we even have one of the customers that are like, hey, like, I'll give you the change so you can just go away. Like, you cheapskate, like, I'll give you, like, the 30-something cents that will pay for this rope. And we have Otto that's just like okay, I'll just do this then, like fine, just to leave the store. So we have Otto that is to go home, and we of course have him with a guy who checks newspapers, and I think Otto is to realize that his newspaper is to kind of have some schmutz on it. So just a little angry, just a little upset. So we have Otto also with a number of different neighbors that are to kind of have uh, their certain quirks about them. So we have Otto that is to go on and see Jimmy, who seems to be this kind of weird jogger character who's kind of like almost jogging in a very weird way, or he's kind of walking in this kind of unusual way. And so I'm just like, okay, like, hey man, if there's any way that you can go on and just stand out. So we have Otto that is to make his way through his neighborhood, and we end up seeing a guy named Andy who is just kind of really just like stretching and doing all these goofy stretches that is just basically showing his junk to everybody. And so we go on to have Otto, who is yelling at Andy's wife or girlfriend, like, well, hey, like, can you stop having your husband, like, stretching out his junk to the world to everybody? So then we go on to have Otto, who is going to his job. Come to find out, this job is to have it be his last day. Because, of course, he is going on to retirement, because he is in forced retirement, because it seems that he was pushed out of his job, and there was to be a younger man that went on to take his position. And so when Otto goes into the Stimco Steel Company, we have them be giving him a cake. And so Otto is like, well, hey, like, what are you guys bringing? Like, what are you guys celebrating? Like, what's the cake for? It's like, well, hey, it's your last day. He's like, oh, I don't know. So they go on and they state that they're gonna miss his schedules. They're gonna miss like things that he was to do at work. It's like, so you won't really give a crap about me then. But so we have the boss that is talking to Otto. It's like, well, hey, like, are you gonna enjoy your retirement? It's like, oh yeah, like my forced retirement that I ended up getting this kind of package for this retirement that you've gone on and you've hired a younger guy that has to go on and look at his phone to see what day of the week it is, or or what day of the month it is, and this guy will like not be able to do this job all that well, and so on and so Otto just goes on and on and on. And so we have Otto that is to like just have everybody going like, okay, let's cut the cake. And so they end up cutting it in a way of which that is to really just cut like Otto completely off of this cake, because we have a picture of Otto on this cake, and it doesn't even cover like most of the cake. It's very weird. So they go on and they state like, well, hey Otto, like, what slice of the cake do you want? Like, what part of your face do you want? So Otto just leaves and he's like, whatever. So we have Otto that is to realize that a UPS delivery person has gone on to park at a place that he shouldn't be parked, or she shouldn't be parking in. And I was like, oh my god, like, this is this like a joke from like Castaway, how like Tom Hanks would go on and have worked for like FedEx so he has to go on and give crap to UPS. Is that the story? We also, funny enough, have Tom Hanks like referencing FedEx, but he only calls them like the white trucks, and but he doesn't state like the company by name. I'm kind of curious if UPS was actually the sponsor in this film, because that would have been funny. Because FedEx, of course, wasn't the sponsor in Castaway. Funny enough, it was just like, oh no, this is just products and whatever, but like they never put a dime into the film. So they should have. So we have Otto that is complaining to this UPS driver, and so she's gonna go on and do a lick of nothing about any of this. She's just gonna park wherever she wants to. So we then all of a sudden have two neighbors moving in, and Otto is to see that Tommy and Marisol are trying to parallel park here, and Tommy is doing a god awful job. No offense, Tommy. Parallel parking is hard. So Tommy's going on and trying to parallel park. 12 years later, after it seems Otto is almost dead, we have Otto that's like, oh my god, like, how can you drive? So Otto goes on and is to tell like Tommy, like, get out of your car, because this guy still hasn't done this parallel parking correctly. And so he also is complaining to him of like, well, hey, where's your ticket that says that you live here? Because it's not on your car. It should be on your rearview mirror, and it's in the guy's pocket. And Otto's like, oh my god. So Otto is to take the car and notices that there's Luna and Abby in the back of this seat. So we have Otto that in one time needed only, he goes on to back up this car and parallel park, and it all works out. And so both Marisol and Tommy are like, wow, like that was actually a pretty good job. Yeah, of course. So we go on to have Otto that was to, of course, while dealing with these neighbors, was also going on and doing something in his home, because he, of course, was going on and trying to hang himself. So Otto was to go on and go and almost hang himself, but then all of a sudden he sees these neighbors trying to parallel park this car. So Otto goes back into his house. He then tries to hang himself, and he's getting these brief glimpses of the time that he was with Sonia. All of a sudden, the rope breaks, and now there's a hole in the wall. And so Otto is realizing, like, oh crap, like, man, like, I didn't even get to like do away with myself the way I wanted to. It's kind of like Castaway in a way. By the end of that movie, if anyone has ever gone and seen that. So we all of a sudden have Otto that gets a knock on the door, and we have Otto who is talking to both Marisol and Tommy. And so we have Marisol that brings over some food, and is to tell Otto that it's a Mexican dish. So she is trying to be polite and trying to be neighborly, and so we have Otto, of course, not being neighborly, he's kind of being rude. So we have Marisol that's just like, man, like, you're like a warm blanket to me. Like, you're just such like a nice guy. And so we have Otto, it seems, is to need some tools. And so Tommy, after he goes on and says that he is to have worked at this tech support job, we have him state that he needs an Alvin wrench. Alvin. And Otto is to go on and correct him. It's like, you mean Allen wrench? It's like, yeah, that's what it means. So we make their way to Otto's garage to then go on to give him this Allen wrench. And so it seems the neighbors are happy, they leave, so on and so forth. Uh, Come to find out, when Otto is to go in and eat this meal, he does actually enjoy it. So we all of a sudden have the same neighbors knocking again. And so they hand him back the Allen wrench. And so they're like, well, hey, like, we need to go on and have you, like, do you have a ladder? Like, because we need a ladder. And we have Otto that's like, well, wait a minute, what do you need a ladder for? And they're like, well, like, one of these windows is to seemingly not be able to open. So we thought we would go on through the other part of the window and try to open it up that way. And so Otto's like, okay. So he goes into his garage and is to get this ladder. Tommy all of a sudden notices this ramp. It's like, hey, we can use this ramp. And Otto's like, no, 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 no. Like, I'm giving you this ladder. That doesn't mean start taking everything in my garage. It doesn't work that way. So we all of a sudden have Otto that is to also be met by Anita. Anita is to go on and ask Otto, like, well, hey, like, can you go on and can you figure out why we're not getting heat in our house? And Otto's like, well, you just need to bleed your radiator. She's like, well, how do I do that? And Otto's like, well, like, you bleed it. Like, it's like, and she's like, well, like, I know Ruben used to kind of take care of that stuff, but now he's in such poor health. Yeah, now, like, I don't know how to really do that kind of stuff. So Otto is just gonna is handling with all of his neighbors. He's haggling with them. So we have Otto that is to give his neighbors the ladder, and then when Anita goes back to her house, she ends up getting a knock on the door, and Otto's like, well, hey, like, I'll go on and I'll bleed your radiators, only if you go on and you give me my hose that I lent you last August. So, because of course we had Marisol that is to go on and say to Otto, it's like, well, hey, why don't you just help them? And Otto's like, why can't I just explain to them what they're doing, what they need to do? Why do I have to do everything? Why do I have to help everyone? So we have Otto that is talking to Anita about Ruben, and he of course is in the room, and so Anita is telling Otto, it's like, well, hey, like he's still in there. You can go on and you can talk to him. So, like, meaning that he's somewhat like coherent. You can kind of so we have Otto that goes on in his estate that at some point, like, Ruben, who is to have gone on to had his health way he had it, is to have been him staging a coup. And so we have Otto that goes on to talk to Ruben, and it seems that Otto is kind of planning something with this hose, and Ruben won't let Otto leave this place. And so when Otto tries to get the hose away from Ruben, it seems very difficult. So after we go on to have Otto get this hose, we then see what it is that Otto is going to do next. So Otto, it seems, is planning to get into his garage and is to take this hose and is to put it at the end of his tailpipe and put the other front part of this hose into his car and then die from asphyxiation or just kind of this gas coming into his car. So we have Otto that goes on to start having this gas being put into his car, and all of a sudden he's going on and having this flashback. So I'm going to cover a lot of the flashbacks, like mostly all, like in the like at the early stages of it. There's sometimes where some of these flashbacks does tie into a story, but I'll go on and I'll cover quite a bit of these flashbacks. So we have Otto that is to try to go in to the military, and it's like a very Captain America like situation. When Otto is to try to enlist, we find that he cannot enlist because he has a heart condition. Like his heart is too big. And so they will not go on and let Otto enlist in the military, in the service. So we have Otto that is to go on to this train to then go, I'm assuming, back home. All of a sudden, we have Otto who is to meet a woman named Sonia and is to see her getting on this train, and so he gets on after her. So we have Otto that starts talking to Sonia, and so Otto is to kind of make up this story that he is going on and enlisting in the military, and she's like, "Oh, like when are you gonna be able to go for that?" And he's like, "I don't know, like it's all up to them." But he knows, he already knows that he's not going to make it. Like he's just on this train to meet with this woman. So all of a sudden, the ticket man comes by. It's like a ticket. We have Sonia who has a ticket, but Otto does not. So we all of a sudden find that Otto is now paying for this ticket, and so Sonia is like, okay, something's up about this guy. Like this guy obviously, like got on here for some reason, and more than likely some reason is that woman. So Otto and Sonia just start talking, and it just gets to the point where just things click between the two of them. They end up going to this dinner together, and so come to find out when they go to this dinner, we find out that Otto is kind of just letting Sonya eat this big meal, and it seems that Otto really isn't eating anything. And so Sonya's like, "Why aren't you eating anything?" And Otto's like, "Well, I ate an hour ago." And she's like, "Why aren't you eating?" So come to find out, like Otto doesn't really have a job right now, and so like what little he could eat was to really just kind of save up for letting like Sonya eat her food on this date for him to pay. And so Sonya is to really just immediately fall in love with this guy and his honesty, and they end up kissing, and everybody in the place that they're in, the restaurant, just starts clapping. It's like, oh my god, this is amazing. So I probably covered more of the flashback that I probably should have, but that's a pretty good chunk of it. We also had like a whole flashback going on and tying in Otto and Ruben, but I think we'll get to that later. So we have Otto that is all of a sudden getting a banging on his garage door. And so Otto is to find out that Marisol is to be in front of Otto's garage, and it seems that Tommy was to have injured himself falling off this ladder because this guy's a klutz anyways. And so we come to find out that Marisol needs Otto to drive her to the hospital. And so Otto drives her to the hospital, and he realizes also that she's going to bring both Luna and Abby, these two kids. And he's like, really? It's like, yeah, I have to. So Otto makes his way with Marisol because she doesn't have a license. She doesn't have a license, Lisa. So Otto goes on to make her way, or his way, and also Marisol's way, to this hospital, and they're waiting in this waiting room, and Marisol leaves, so now we just have Otto with the two kids, and come to find out later, like, Otto is going to have to babysit these two kids, and it's a pretty nice, funny scene there, but anyways, so we all of a sudden have Otto, who is reading this book to this girl, and he has to go on and like read it as these animals. He has to read it like a bear or an owl or whatever. And so we have Otto that's like, well, bears don't talk. Well, owls don't talk. So like, just read it like a bear. Just read it like an owl. So he does. So all of a sudden, this clown just comes in, and this clown is to want to do this magic trick. Then we have Marisol coming in here, and she's realizing that clown is crying, and Otto, it seems, is talking to these police officers. So Marisol is like, okay, what happened here? So now we have to explain this. So it seems that Otto was to have borrowed this coin to the clown to do this trick, and so it's the magic trick. And this clown is a bit of a jerk, but it is what it is. So like, this guy volunteers his time here to just do these performances, so I guess that's the nice thing of it all, but still. So we all of a sudden have this clown do this magic trick, and is to have this coin come from Otto's ear, and when Otto is to get this coin back, because Otto is to tell the clown that he wants the coin back, come to find out when Otto looks at the coin, he's like, excuse me, sir, but like, this isn't the coin that I gave you, because this says the wrong year. You need to go on and give me that coin that I gave you. And so the clown is consistently just like, blah, 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 and just being a jerk. So Otto is like, no, you give me back that coin. Like, that's a significant coin to me. So we have Otto going on and figuring out where this person had stashed this coin. And so he's like, aha, like, I got my coin back. Now we have Otto talking to these police officers, like, well, hey, he volunteers his time, blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, but I wanted my coin. Like, I told him to give me back that specific coin, and he didn't listen. So it didn't really seem that Otto was to have any jail time or whatever, because why would he? So we let me pause here for a second. Okay. I realized there was probably a point where I probably got a little ahead of myself, so I'm going to back up just a tweet bit. There also was Mike Birbiglia, that I know him as doing some stand-up work. I really like his stand-up work. He's really funny. I like it. This guy ends up playing the Die in America real estate agent. And Otto is to even make fun of that name, because it sounds like the name should be Dying America. But hey, so Otto is to come to find out that Mike Birbiglia's character, this estate agent, is to consistently try and get through this gate of this gated community. So he's like driving on like the parking or driving on the sidewalk to get past this gate, or at certain points the gate is to be open, and Otto is like, well, hey man, you can't go on, you can't do that. Like, if you don't live around here, you can't just go into this shortcut because people live here. So we have this estate agent that is to go on and consistently talk to Otto, and the first time around he really just kind of ignores him, but then the second time around when he goes on and again is to try to get through this gate, we have Mike's character that is to state about Otto's like poor health, and he knows about his health records because it seems that somehow Dai and Murica are to illegally be getting a bunch of health information about all these people that live by these by this gated community, and they're also trying to go on and take advantage of that, try and figure out a way to kind of take over certain houses. And there's certain times where you would go on and see, like for the movie, like I Care a Lot, there is to be like one person in that movie that goes on to like take over a person's home and then like sells every bit of it, like all of their expenses, all of their things. Somebody just goes through and is to pick through it and just be like, ha ha ha, like I'm gonna sell all of this stuff and get money out of it. She's gonna pocket her own money. It's not gonna go back to whoever family it is. No, she's gonna pocket like her own money and make a good living off of this. So but anyways, let's fast track back in this movie. So we again have Otto, who is to go to this train station and is to want to leap onto the tracks to be hit by this oncoming train. And so we all of a sudden have Otto that is kind of tipping his foot by the end of this train station thing. So by the time Otto commits to this, we have somebody else that does that before him, slips and falls and whatever. So Otto is kind of looking at everybody. No one is doing anything. So Otto jumps down at the tracks and is like, well, hey man, I was going to die anyways. So Otto then goes on to grab this man, pick him up, and kind of heave him over the tracks for a bunch of people to kind of get to him. So then Otto is kind of looking at this track that he's on, and all of a sudden there's a train kind of whizzing by him. So he is all of a sudden seeing off in the distance a train coming, and Otto again is having another flashback. So we all of a sudden have a man who is to desperately tell Otto, it's like, hey man, like grab on, you're gonna get killed. So Otto takes the man's hand, he grabs him, it's like, man, like, what's wrong with you? You almost could have died. And so Otto just like was like, oh, okay, all right. Well, he starts walking on, and so the next thing we see after that is we have this girl who is this influencer Abby, who is to come a knocking on Otto's door. And Otto is to be like, well, like, what's a social media? What is this? What are you talking? What do you want from me? So we have Abby that goes on to state that she had gone on to see that video that Otto had been involved in, because everybody was like kind of picking up their phones and like, oh my god, this situation's crazy. I can make a bunch of hits on YouTube. It's great. It's wonderful. We have influencer Abby. Seems that there's two different influencers. One of these influencers. So we go on to have Otto, who's talking to this girl, and she wants like Otto's story, so that way she can get some hits on her social media. And so all of a sudden, we again have Marisol that is to kind of interrupt while this influencer is kind of asking Otto questions. So we all of a sudden have Otto, who is to close his garage while this girl's in there, and so she's starting to bang on this garage, and so Marisol's like, well, hey, what's going on here? And Otto's like, oh, I was just like this girl was here and she was asking me questions, and so kind of playing it off. So we go on to have like Marisol kind of figure out what was going on there. So the next thing we have is that Marisol is gonna make her way into her house with Otto, and while Otto is kind of talking with the girls, they end up talking about the dishwasher that doesn't work. So in the time that Marisol and Tommy are talking, because I think this is the time when Otto is gonna have to like babysit these kids while the parents are gonna be out. We have Otto that goes on and fixes the dishwasher, and when Tommy comes home, he realizes like, oh my god, like this thing is fixed. So we end up also having at some point where Marisol is going to need to learn how to drive, and it's to hope that Otto will help her out. And Otto's like, well, yeah, I'm definitely not going to let Tommy like teach you how to drive because that guy sucks. It's like, so Otto and Marisol go into this car, and Marisol's stated, it's like, well, hey, like you don't have like automatic. Like I normally drive automatic, and Otto's like, it's not that hard. You're gonna learn how to drive my car. So they both go into the car, and we have Marisol that is consistently being told by Otto what to do. And so she's popping into clutch, she's doing all these things, and Marisol is just kind of off and on driving. So we get to a point where Marisol is just so freaked out by all the stuff that she has to go on and do, and even though Otto is telling her what to do, it's very complex, it's very complicated. And so Marisol is starting to realize that, man, she just suck at this. So we have at one point that Marisol is in this red light, and it all of a sudden turns green, and Marisol is starting to freak out so bad that she like is just dead stopped here. And so Otto is to hear the guy from behind them. I believe this is a guy named Nick. And so Nick is going on and being this a-hole. It's like, so we have Otto that's like, hey man, don't honk the horn. And so he continues to. So Otto is to go on and grab this guy from his car and is to tell him, like, hey, if you honk that horn one more time, I swear to God, I'll come back here and I will beat you. So, paraphrasing, of course. So, guy goes back to his car. Otto goes back into his car is to look at Marisol in his state. It's like, well, hey, like you've gone on and you've birthed two kids, going on your third, and like you've lived as long as you've lived, and you've accomplished all these things. You have a house, you have a husband, you're so on and so forth. So Otto goes on to tell Marisol, it's like, you're not an idiot. You can do this. You can drive this car. So that goes on and gives Marisol the moment that she needs to, like, yeah, I can do this. Like, thank you for going on and like and making me realize that. So we have Marisol and Otto that drive to this location, and come to find out they go to this kind of like Danish kind of treat place. It's really nice. Where I would assume they would have like bear claws and kind of these cupcakes, and it's kind of one of those like pastry places. So they're going on and trying all these things, and come to find out this wasn't Otto's favorite place. It was Sonia's very favorite place. It's like, oh well, that's nice that he's kind of like telling us a story about Sonia. Really nice. Anyways, so come to find out, Marisol is to talk to Otto about like, well, hey, like, did you and Sonia ever have kids? And Otto shuts down because come to find out, in this movie, we have Otto who, in some flashback, it seems that both Otto and Sonia did have a kid on the way, but when Otto was to go with Sonia onto this bus, all of a sudden, while Otto is going to the bathroom, this bus is to flip over. It's to get into an accident. So come to find out, when Otto is to take Sonia to this hospital, we find out that Sonia was to lose the child. And then we also find out that Sonia had injured herself so badly that she was to have to go on and be in a wheelchair. And at some point, Sonia passed away. So I was like, oh, that's too bad. So we go on to now, like, because this is flashback time, it seems. So Otto and Otto is going on and talking about a friend that he used to have, and that friend used to be Ruben. Maybe it still is. So Otto and Ruben used to be really good friends, but they were to, of course, be just opposites when it came down to picking out cars. Otto would always want to have a Chevy, and Ruben would always pick a Ford. So whenever Ruben would want to show Otto, like, hey, look at this nice flashy car that I have, Otto would be like, okay, lift up the garage door, it'd be another Ford, and Otto would be like, oh my god, man, like, come on, like, Fords, So, like, they would always like share beers and share whatever together, but like always seeing like, hey, this brand new car. So, and it's always a Ford until the very end, and then all of a sudden Ruben would be like, hey man, I got this new swanky car, and Otto's like, okay, what is it? Ends up being a Toyota. And so Otto's like, man, I can't deal anymore. I can't take this anymore. So Otto just walks away, and Ruben's like, what? It's like, no. So Otto is going to explain that he was really good friends with Ruben, but yeah, there just was like a falling out between them, and there was all a difference about a car. So we go on to I'm trying to think where we are next here. Let me pause here for a second. All right. What I think I'll do is I'll just kind of cover some ground until the end of this film. That's what we'll try to do. So we have Otto, and so Otto is to meet with Malcolm. Come to find out, Malcolm is transgender. So we have Otto that is talking to Malcolm, and Malcolm is to be this newspaper person, and so Otto is to state, it's like, well, hey, like, is this all that you do? It's like, is this your only job? So Malcolm's like, well, no. He goes on and he is to work at this thrift store, and he has this other job. And so Otto's like, oh, okay, so like this isn't it for you. So come to find out, Malcolm was to have been taught by Otto's wife, Sonia, and it seems that when Malcolm was going through uh, a name change, it seems that uh, we would have Sonia that would go on and accept the name change and accept Malcolm, where no one else did. And so Malcolm was very appreciative of Sonia, and for the moment where Otto was going to give Malcolm crap about the newspaper job that he does, we come to find that Otto is like, well, hey, nice kid. So come to find out, we'll have Malcolm that even goes on to live with Otto at some portion of this film, and Otto is to even give Malcolm like his car, is to give him a car, like, hey man, like this is yours, like the title's in your name, and Malcolm's like, what, I have a car? And Otto was to, of course, ask Malcolm, it's like, well, hey, what kind of car would you like to drive? And Malcolm says Volkswagen, and Otto's like, Volkswagen? Okay, all right, well, whatever. Like, you're the one who wants to drive a Volkswagen. So we have Otto that is to find this cat in the neighborhood, the stray cat. So Otto at one point is to try to just shoot away. We have one point one of his neighbors with a dog that was to want to throw rocks at this cat. And Otto's like, well, hey, if you do that one more time, like, I'm going to throw a rock at you. So it's like, well, hey, I'm just throwing a rock at this cat. So we have Otto that tries to go on and get rid of this cat. And at one point, the cat ends up going into his garage, hiding under his car. So Otto is trying to shoo the cat. The shoe goes on to have the cat kind of dig its claws into Otto's pants. And so Otto's like, well, hey, like, do not bite me. Do not, like, call me. I'm going to help you out here. So Otto goes on and unhooks this cat from his pant leg, and the cat walks off. So the more and more throughout this movie, we all of a sudden find Otto, who is to end up getting stuck with this cat. Because we have at one point where the neighbors go on and Otto go on to find this cat outside somewhere, and it has gone on to be frozen. So we have Jimmy, we have Otto, we have Marisol that are wanting to. Well, Otto is kind of being forced, but still, they're wanting to like try to warmth in this cat. So considering this cat has no tags, nothing of that nothing of that nature, we have Otto that just goes on to take the cat, just takes it in. At some point, the cat goes on to lay on Otto's bed, and Otto's like, no, 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 like, you have your own bed. But then when the cat is to just rest on this side of the bed, Otto's like, oh, okay, all right, like, just whatever, cat. So Otto goes on to take care of this cat, is to give him tuna, and so on and so forth. So Otto doesn't take him to the vet or anything. It just kind of just weirdly takes care of him. So we go on, and I think I'm gonna get like towards the end of this movie because I think I've kind of ran out of real estate at this point to kind of mention all the stuff that happens in this film. So we have Otto that is to find out from Anita that the Die America are to try and take Anita's home away. And Otto's like, okay, why are they trying to do that? Why are they doing that to you? So, come to find out, these people had realized that Anita had had some health condition, and so immediately, like, Die in America swoop in and are like, hey, like, let's take this house. Because both of them have health conditions, both the people in this house, they're trying to, like, take them away. Because we had Otto who was just talking to Anita, and Anita's like, well, hey, like, hey, new neighbors, right? Hey, how are they? Like, yeah, it seems like they're going pretty well. And so Anita's like, well, you're gonna get new neighbors soon. And I was like, why? And she goes on and says, it's like, well, because I have a health condition, because my husband has a health condition. Like, yeah, they're kicking us out of our house. And Otto's like, no. So Otto goes on to need to get information from Anita, and eventually he goes on to call this in or Otto goes on to call this influencer girl because there's something shady going on here. So by all of this information being taken, by all this stuff being found out, they realize that somehow Die in America are going on and finding out all these like health conditions about all these people, because Otto is to also know that Die in America have a file on Otto that is very thick, because Mike Birbiglia's character is to even state that the real estater. So Otto's like, well, why do these people have so much information on me? Why why is that a thing? So they go on and they do some investigating, and so now when Die in America, the real estate agent, the Mike Birbiglia character, is to try to go on and get these people out of their house, Otto's like, no, 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 not gonna happen. And the real estate agent is like, well, yeah, like both of these people have poor health condition. It's like, well, yeah, because you would go on and get these people's information from out from under them, and all of a sudden we have this influencer that's like, oh, hey, yeah. So they go on and do this whole investigation and realize that these people are illegally getting this information, and so that goes on to have Anita and Ruben, who are to kind of keep their house. And it's like, yeah, they're definitely going to go on and keep their house because this was some illegal bull. So we have this influencer doing this whole story so she can go on and get more likes and tweets and bumps and whatever. So we then go on and have like Otto, like they kind of montage it. They kind of go on with Otto doing all these things with all these people, all these cast members. Uh, it seems that also with that story, the little thing that I forgot about it is Jimmy was to also the guy that kind of just jogs weird. He also lives with Anita and Ruben, and he has to state that he kind of treats them like family because he doesn't exactly have his own. So Jimmy goes on to like be possibly being their guardian, and hence why there's another reason why like they can go on and just have these two people stay there with the guardian really just being Jimmy, kind of watching over them because they're like family anyways. So like that all just works out. I didn't really cover that, but I'm covering it now. So, but yeah, so we have all these montages kind of quickly wrapping this movie up, and of all that Otto is doing with either Malcolm, kind of giving him a car, giving him a place to live, and kind of befriending a bunch of people that he probably didn't really give a crap about. So, joking around with some people, so on and so forth, having a good time. So, we have Otto, who it seems is having some heart trouble. We have at one point that Otto is in his home and he's starting to like kind of grab on his heart. He's like this is really painful. And so Mary Saul's like, well, hey, what's going on? What's going on, Otto? So we come to find out by the end of this story, we have Marisol and we have Tommy that realize that Otto has not gone on to like shovel his driveway because this guy is a guy of routine and so on and so forth. So they end up having a uh, a key for Otto's house because come to find out Marisol ends up being Otto's kind of like legal guardian, kind of a person kind of watching over Otto. And so it seems that Marisol was like number one on the call sheet if anything was to happen to Otto. So come to find out, Otto had passed away, and so Otto had left Marisol with a list or a letter stating that he is to go on and leave both Tommy and Marisol everything, and so like he states like, well, hey, if you're gonna have a funeral, like don't make it too big, just kind of like just have everybody that you can there, and so on and so forth. But hey, so if funny enough, it ends up being like this big funeral, anyways, where we have the influencer that's even going on of like, yeah, our local hero Otto. So she's doing this whole video about it, how he had gone on to pass away, and how she's very emotional about it because like how much that they knew him and so on and so forth. It wasn't just some random person is like, well, hey, let's go on to so and so celebrity's grave because that's where they died. Man, is that like, hey, man, whoever goes on and is to like do that and get like a ton of money for it on YouTube, good for them. But like that's pretty sad. It's pretty sad, but hey, like whatever people do, like there's some stuff that I've gone on and done that people like shake a finger at, like, how could he have done that? How could he even done this interview or this review? Like, why would he even do this one? I don't know. It's just it is what it is. So people can shake their fingers at me all they like. I could just be like, oh well, everybody shakes their finger. Moving on. So Otto is to leave this note to Marisol and is to leave his car to Marisol. It's like never have Tommy drive it. So so at the end of it, we find Otto who is to die, pass away. They do a funeral, and then let me pause here for a second. And so Flowers at his grave is to be the last thing we end up seeing in this film. So we also had Otto, who went to his wife's grave and was to talk to her from time to time about what he was doing. And at one point, after he goes on to hang himself, he sees this newspaper clipping for these flowers, and so he goes on to deliver flowers at his wife's grave. And he's like, "Well, hey, here, like these flowers were a deal." And so I went on and I thought about getting them for you, and so I came out here so I could talk. We even have Otto, who has like the cat in this box with him at some point when he goes to Sony's grave. We also at the very beginning of this where after Otto was to get back from his job, he was all of a sudden getting this phone call, and it was from some uh, some like scam phone thing. Some like, well, hey, how about your life insurance? Blah, blah, blah. And Otto's like, no, 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 no. So we have Otto that it seems when he's to try and go on and take his own life, he ends up going on to call a number of different places and try to get things disconnected. He tries to like get his phone line disconnected. He tries to get uh, his electricity, gas, everything disconnected. And every time he's to call any of these people, it's like, well, why? And so he's like, because like I'm not going to be using it for a week. Like if I'm not going to use it for a week, why do I need to have it? So we also had at one point where someone was to try and go on and use like Otto's phone, and he's like, "Well, I don't have a phone right now." I'm like, why don't you have a phone? And he's like, "Well, I'm not going to explain that." But so yeah, so with that said, that goes on and wraps up my review of this movie. I don't know why I spent an hour talking about it, but I wanted to just kind of get most of the details of this film and come back to certain pieces that I had gone on and forgot. So with that said, I'm going to get out of here. What a review! I went on and there were some details that I realized that I probably didn't cover, like when Tommy and his daughter was wearing lucha libre masks, wrestler masks. It seems that the daughter is to go on and really like Mexican wrestling, and she even when she's at the doctor, she was kind of wrestling with these Mexican wrestling dolls, the lucha libre dolls, and so yeah. Other than that, I think everything is covered. So with that said, I'm going to get out of here. Let me know in the comments below how you felt about a man called Otto. Maybe you liked this movie. Maybe you thoroughly enjoyed this film. So that's it. I'm going to get out of here. Bye, buddy. Bye, buddy.